I'm here to share because you are significant and you play a significant role in God's Word and in prophecy. What I'd like to share is the burden. We have no other burden than to see and to hear the dragon as they speak. The significance of God's Word given to the prophet is in picture form. There's a thief coming to steal your salvation. And you can't let that happen. So this is why it's your burden. How does the story unfold? I'm just going to quickly run through the same story being told, and a little more here and a little more there. I'm not going to give you the exact references. They'll all probably sound very familiar. So you may have heard me talk about a treacherous teacher coming toward the end of things, and he reduces things to works, which is really by profit, actually work, and metals, which is poppy. So your drug industry, your work industry, and your health industry. And everything gets normalized down to these values, which are not going to save you. So the treacherous teacher, people go over to Israel and bring back these teachings and start getting led astray. He also turns their head and their attention towards the priority of government, of the founders. Now, the founders is very complicated. There's your difference between kingdoms that Jesus pointed to, and the one thing he got angry about is it's not the monetary value, and you'll find these teachings linked right to his quotes about that, and that this distinguishing between government and the spiritual kingdom has really, to me, in an unbelievable way, been diminished. People have no distinguishment. They do not understand. So this whole patriotic move has collected the government, and then this whole medical move is how that she has collected them through this crisis management. Now, so that tells us a little bit about how that it came about. But when you want to look at what Jesus said, the Spirit is what reveals what the Spirit says. And what the Spirit says is in picture. Now, I've spent my life and I understand and have my own concordance, but I have not been trained in the languages. Although, now you better be trained in the language if I'm going to follow what you teach. So I do understand the difference, but the Spirit reveals things in a different way. You do have to get up and go to work, but if you're not doing it according to your belief, you're going to have dreams, and so do they. The image of the thief, and who is the dragon. Now, the word study on the dragon is really revealing because it reveals that before Genesis, there was a destruction, and then it was called Leviathan. You want to know how he acts? Study the words described in definition and all the links to what comes out of his mouth, the lies. And then after the flood, then there was a mixture between these angels and a fleshly attempt to destroy the bloodline of David to get to Jesus. And now it is a spiritual conflict, as Jesus demonstrated by casting out spirits. These men are men throughout history that started with Cain, that ran off like Esau to the city. City founders are different than our foundations of the Lamb slain. So you cannot miss this point, and it has been missed, and it just erases me. But the thief comes to do the testing. We have signs in heaven given to Zechariah. A lie, this gets me. You'll know it right up in the air. There's going to be a legalized measuring of sin right out of thin air. And it's going to harvest people And it's going to be the law of sin. And this is the thief stealing your salvation, the thief of the kingdom. What is the other lie? The other lie is the falsehood of doing it in his name. It's being done in the name of government. And it's a measuring, it's a harvest basket, and it has a measured talent used to measure as a cap. So if you're going to measure yourself by your words, then you're going to be hauled off, and everybody's going to be under this electronic digital measuring. And the whole belief in this, of these dragon men, throughout history, plotting and plotting and plotting, rise up to a head and head. And they cause that this action is these believers, all believers, one woman is carried off into a base, and that's in the wings. Okay, you've got two messengers, and wings. And again, the wings that become on the dragon. So you have to understand what this dragon is and how these wings move from kingdom to kingdom. And the church is carried off and set up on a base at Jerusalem. And there we'll have one that stands up, and since they're just so good at measuring sin and got it all figured out right down to everybody's skin, that he controls it all, the whole world's his, claimed, numbered, measured at any given time. And that's just even greater than what God could do. And he's going to blaspheme that. He's going to blaspheme all these ancient lessons about how that the spiritual kingdom that was cursed came down here and devolved into the spiritual nature. These men have been behind things like prostitution, sexual rights, and various criminal sort of pursuits and markets. So you find that in this definition. But I just wanted to combine this curse, and why. When Jesus tells you, these prophets had burdens. They had to go lay in the middle of town and eat poo-poo. One naked. They had to do things. And we don't. We have no other burden than to come to this awareness, to be able to see, to be able to hear, and to know where our enemy is. And you need to really be able to call your teachers who are really getting political and angry teachings. They want to judge, oh, that's good, and judge on our government laws about sin, and a lot of people divorce. Nobody's without sin. And we're told that the perfection of this sexual thing and our fidelity is measured through him. So we continue. And I wish everybody would be a lot more kind, because we're not fit to judge. There are certain behaviors you don't want your kids exposed to. But we nurse and we teach our kids, and it shouldn't be done with anger. The false teacher, prophet that stands up, his eye is cursed, his right eye, because he can't see back. His arm is dried up because there's a sword on it. Everything that he goes to do is going to be worn, and anything he goes to work, which is your right hand, is shriveled. It's no other way but to destroy and make desolate. And those are your definitions throughout the Bible of this mentality and this type of logic for thinking. And a great darkness comes upon men, and you will lose your judgment. Your judgment will become hypocritical to criticize bitterly. So learn these pictures. They've been forsaken, and the breath of God, the blast, is coming, and it's a spiritual blast. There will be a stream that comes down out of heaven, out of the mouth of God, and it will be fire, and it will flow like water. Now, you can take a stick and beat it to pieces into little rocks and argue about rapture and not rapture,